All right, Tim.
It's been a while.
It's
right?
been a while. Yeah, we had an off week, and so the question is, how was the shoot? How did the movie go?
Actually, pretty fantastic.
That's great.
It's so funny. It's so even if I say so to myself, and look, man, I'm too old to be humble.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm out of that business.
Yeah.
It was actually just fantastic. The young actress I engaged to play that part. Her name is Cy Lockett. She is just fantastic on screen. Pops right off the screen with energy and joy and beauty and smarts and sassiness. We hired some really, really great SAG actors. I did a little bit of work in the movie. It's not too bad. But mostly, it's just, it's a testament to what you can do.
Yeah.
With a damn good Sony A7S II.
Mm-hmm.
Nice Nikon lenses. In a little bit of time.
Yeah.
And effort, you can make a movie, guys. You can make a movie, and it'll be pretty good. So, I look forward to all of you seeing it.
Yeah, as I do too. And I've read the script, and based on the dailies that I've seen, you pretty much nailed exactly what I was seeing in the script. So
it's neat when you get to actually make the movie in your head.
Yeah.
You and I, we've participated in made as writer, as producer, as this, that, or the other thing on many films, docs, and features in many capacities. And they're all great. I've been a screenwriter. I've been all that kind of. But at the end of the day, no film that I've ever contributed to ever came out to be the movie in my head. Mm-hmm. No screenplay I ever wrote, and they're plenty good. I like those movies. They're nice movies, good movies. Yeah. Not the movies in my head. Not once. Not ever.
Yeah.
This movie is the movie in my head. And I couldn't be happy about
it. It reminds me of that great Billy Wilder quote when he said, because Wilder was a writer for Lubitsch, and he wrote, he was already, he wrote Ninotchka, for crying out loud, and when he was asked why he wanted to start directing, he said, it's a classic Billy Wilder quote. If I was going to let I think he used more colorful language than this, so I'm going to sanitize it. But he said, if somebody was going to screw up my scripts, I figured it might as well be me.
Isn't that the bottom line, though?
Yeah.
And, not that everybody on the planet has to be an auteur, but I'm just at that. No, if I'm going to jack it, I'm perfectly happy for everyone to hate this movie.
Yeah.
Because it's mine.
Mm-hmm.
It would bug the hell out of me if somebody else and some other, and then because then I'd be like, no, but no, I would have done no, I'm okay. This is me. This is exactly what I intend.
That's great,
and I actually think it is pretty cute.
That's fantastic. Cannot wait. How long do you think you're going to need for a cut?
Well, again, that process as well as I do. I'm going to go real slow and easy and work my way into it and try to see if I can get a real sort of loose, shabby first cut in about 3 weeks.
Oh, that's great.
Loose. Because it's sort of a linear movie. It sort of moves forward. It's not super duper complicated. It's mostly people talking. It's kind of a before sunset, before sunrise-y kind of thing. A little bit of My Dinner with Andre. It's mostly people talking.
Are you thinking of submitting to Sundance?
You look,
because first week in October, I believe, is the Sundance deadline. If you had some kind of an assembly cut,
I could very well do that.
You could submit that.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
Weird thing about Sundance, we talk about it all the time on the show.
Yeah.
It's funny when we talk about it with respect to our own thing.
Yeah.
Sundance, kind of the touch of death.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. I mean, maybe not that. I put it like this: doesn't have the for sure box office cachet that it used to have.
No, that's true. I mean, it's Sundance has been. Boy, I mean, a lot of the festivals that have focused on indie films traditionally, Sundance and Telluride and LA Film Fest and Tribeca, they've either lost their luster in the streaming era, the current era that we're in, this weird democratized era, of where people put things on YouTube and where you sort of aren't the filter, right? That you aren't the gatekeeper that you used to be. Or they've had to change. Telluride now does big premieres.
Yeah.
Telluride figures we're concurrent with Toronto. We got to compete with Toronto. So it's very interesting how all that has changed. And Tribeca's done a little bit of that too.
South by Southwest.
South by
as much
Southwest.
About music as it is anything else.
Yeah, and South by Southwest has been suffering from a lot of the Sundance fallout too. I mean. Yeah. You see a lot of these movies come out of South by Southwest. Hey, audience award, and then it takes three years for somebody to pick it up.
Pick it up because you know what? Nobody want to actually see that movie except for you. So that's a thing to think about.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, a little, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon. This is the place. I mean, that little movie will probably get picked up. I'm sure it'll get picked up. It'll have a little life.
It's a seller's market,
but it's a seller's market.
It's a seller's market. Yeah.
So anyway,
true.
Yes.
So the other elephant in the room we should talk about is the whole James Gunn fiasco. You know, I made a prediction. I said he'd be rehired by the end of July. Didn't happen. So much for that prediction. But everybody is. Man, I'll tell you, it's getting pretty fierce out there. The cast, Dave Bautista was the first. I
saw him today. Yeah,
he was the first one to come out and say, "I'm really, really mad." And then what's his face, who plays the guy with the southern accent, plays the blue faced guy.
I forget his name too, but yeah.
He left Twitter because of it. He was just so mad. And then everybody else came. And then they had the cast thing where Chris.
Chris Pratt.
Where Chris Pratt made a very nice Christian boy way of summing up everybody's profane feelings about this. He just said, it says in the Bible. I was like, you could tell Chris Pratt was like, simmer down, everybody. Just calm down. Let's just treat this nicely. But Dave Bautista's been just fierce. Yeah. I mean, his thing yesterday was fascinating, and I'll do what I'm contractually obligated, but this isn't the movie I signed up for.
Well, contractual obligations notwithstanding. As a matter of fact, I would be really kind of surprised if somewhere in some of the, Vin Diesel, I have to imagine that Vin Diesel can just walk away because he's Vin Diesel, and somewhere in his contract there is always a way for Vin Diesel to walk away. I can imagine Vin Diesel's people have him, but Woody, I don't know. This is the real problem, though. Who wants to go and direct that movie?
Yeah.
Look, dude, I just finished my little movie. Yeah. If out of the sky they would have dropped with a $2 million check and say, Tim, take on. No. I'm not hanging around with Dave Bautista every day on James Gunn's movie. Pissed off. What the hell would I do that? Yeah. So who directs this movie? This isn't like the situation with Ron Howard and those boys from the other movie.
This is the question that has to be going on at Disney. And, Disney's an interesting place. Disney is, they are obsessive about protecting the brand. Even though there's nobody over there that actually believes in the brand. I mean, let's be honest. Nobody. The things that James Gunn was fired for writing, which none of which it's all. Yes, they were bad jokes. They were in poor taste.
But that's what they were. Bad jokes.
They were bad jokes. It was. He didn't hurt anybody. He didn't mean to hurt anybody. He didn't encourage anybody to be hurt. There's nothing. No one was harmed by those tweets. They were just dumb, and they were a decade ago.
And there is a. We do this thing that bugs me. We talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
Intention. We pretend like we do not understand people's intention. James was trying to be funny and edgy, and and we act like that he's some sort of sociopath when he plainly isn't.
It is so bizarre, and it so transcends politics because even though yes, it was a far right provocateur on who went and kind of threw this and raised the ruckus here. The brass at Disney, they're all kind of big lefties, and I have been arguing for 2 weeks with people who are both far left and far right over this. Both of whom are like, stupid gun, all mad at him. Yeah, he was defending, Ben Shapiro. He was encouraging pedophilia. I'm like, I'm sorry, both of you are insane. You are so wrong. Neither thing is true, and it doesn't matter anyhow. This guy, leave him alone.
Yeah.
He says, I'm a different person now. I made a mistake. It was in bad taste.
To be honest with you, that's the only issue that I've actually had with this. I think James is, people can do what they want, but I think his approach to it is wrong. I think he should have said, hey, look, guys, I was trying to be funny.
He said that. He said, I was trying to be provocative and it didn't work.
Provocative, it didn't work out. I've done worse, I promise you. Yeah. But I'm not going to apologize for simply trying to do my work in the way that the work is done. He's a comedian.
He wrote Tromeo and Juliet. I kind of want to grab the people at Disney and go, I'm sorry, have you actually seen Tromeo and Juliet? Because if these tweets upset you, but that movie doesn't, are you kidding me?
It's ludicrous.
Come on. Yeah. So I still, this is the thing. We had an interesting little experience with Disney ourselves through LAFCA last year, where there was an LA Times piece for those, and then we'll summarize this very quickly. There was an LA Times piece that kind of was delving into some rather nasty little matters with the city of Anaheim, which owns the land on which the Disneyland parking structure sits, and Disneyland has some kind of like permanent in perpetuity lease on that land for $5 a decade or some it's truly ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's outrageous. I mean, the city I think makes maybe $20 million over a 10-year period or something. It's very, very little money that the city actually makes on it compared to what Disney pulls in. It's $20 per car, and there's thousands of cars every day. I mean, it's ridiculous. So, I mean, you figured, 20,000 cars a day at $20 a piece. That's what is that? It's $500,000 a day just off of parking.
Just from parking.
Just from parking. There's no overhead on that.
Yeah, it's dirt.
You're paying 3 people who run the booths.
Yeah.
So it's and the city gets next to nothing. Anyway, the LA Times did a big expose on this and talked about it. Disney threw a fit. Said LA Times is against the Disney Corporation, so we're not going to allow your film critics to see our movies anymore.
Yeah, Justin Chang and a few other members of our group.
Yeah, so that raised the hackles of our group and other critics groups, all of whom said, fine, Disney movies are officially ineligible for awards with all of our groups, which Disney then backed off. Paper Tiger time. And they backed off a lot faster than I thought they would. I really thought they'd go to the wall and play chicken with us for a little bit, and they didn't. So, on behalf of filmmakers and people, like Ava DuVernay and some others were very, very supportive, going out there on Twitter and saying, "I support the LA film critics." And she had a Wrinkle in Time coming out. Yeah. So, Disney to keep the peace, and so that this wouldn't turn into a fiasco, they exterminated it immediately, and it was extinguished, and it was done, and it didn't linger. I think they're trying to figure out the same thing now, because if you don't hire James Gunn back, this will linger. And exactly like you said, whoever gets hired to do this is not, Batista's not going to be on the press tour saying nice things, and others aren't going to say nice things. They've already come out and saying they want their director back. And this will become a thing when the third film gets made with another director. That becomes a thing. It resurrects all over again. But you get it out of the way now, it's done.
And here's the simple way to do it. Simply say, we were wrong. Just say that. Whoever, you don't need, it doesn't have to be, just spokesperson time. Yeah. Throw a spokeslady under the bus. We made a mistake. We've reviewed our policy, come to a clearer understanding about what it is we intend to communicate. We understand Mr. Gunn's intention, and that just say all of that. Give the man his job back, and you know what? By the time this movie comes out, we will have forgotten about this shit.
There is this is what marketing people get paid for. They don't get paid to do generic campaigns. It is not difficult to promote Christopher Robin. It really isn't. That's a no-brainer. Yeah. That's an easy thing. Your marketing people come into play when you have situations like this. How do we sell this message in a way that it does not adversely affect stock price, it keeps the shareholders happy, et cetera, so forth and so on? You're going to be fine. Seriously, Disney in 2 years, 3 years, if you'd make this go away now, nobody cares.
Just be wrong. It's okay to be wrong. I just don't get that. That's what how come nobody wants to be wrong? Just, you know what? Yeah, I was wrong about that. Yeah, made a mistake. Sorry, James.
Well, this is where we are in the culture now. Nobody wants to be wrong.
Just be wrong, man. If I were a Disney exec, this is the bright Disney exec is the one that goes into the office and says, "Hey guys, I'll take the heat for this. I'll take the heat. Give me the mic. I'll go out there. I'll tell everybody it was my stupid idea. I jacked it. I screwed it up. I'll go on vacation. I'll come back in December, and we'll press on from there.
There you go.
And no one will care.
That's it.
So anyway, sorry about it.
So, all right, we're gonna dive into the show here, and we're going to start off with some anime. And this is a great week for anime. Most of it is Funimation, but we got some other really, really cool stuff here. And from Kraken releasing the live-action first collection of the Garo TV series. And this is really actually much better than I was expecting it to be. We've talked about some of the live-action Garo in the past, and this is episodes 1 through 13, collection 1. Makai Senki, the Garo TV series Makai Senki. For those who don't know the thing, this is like a much better version of Power Rangers. You have the Makai Knights, which is what Makai Senki means. It's the Makai Knights, and they have to fight these things called the Horrors, which are these, basically really they look like if all those ridiculous costumes on Power Rangers were actually physical appendages. That's kind of what this would be. Anyway. It's kind of humans versus aliens, humans versus monsters. It's a standard thing, but the whole mythical Lord of the Ringsy thing going to it, which specifically deals with the Garo armor, and that's what Garo means. It's an armor that you wear that kind of gives you like wolf abilities. It's really really cool. This is the first time that I've actually seen the mythology of Garo actually kind of emerge in an interesting way. And comparatively, also want to mention that there's another Garo, and this one's out from Funimation, and this is the animated Garo. This is Garo Divine Flame, and which I watching the TV stuff first and then the Divine Flame second, it makes more sense actually. So this is about two Makai Knights, in particular Leon and Alfonso, who have to deal with a very different kind of a horror. But I found it interesting that the live action actually framed the mythology for me in a way that previous efforts, animation and live action, did not. And as a result, this animation works better for me. So I'm going to say, if you're into Garo, check out from Kraken Releasing the Garo TV series Makasenke Collection 1, and then that will help you, if you're not sort of fully initiated in this world, that will also help you get a better grasp on Garo Divine Flame, Blu-ray and DVD combo. The TV set is just a DVD. Pretty great stuff. Then we also have... from the Sente collection, a couple, big-eyed, cute girl installments. They always are. It's all girls in high school and teen stuff. I almost want to go to Japan and just make a documentary about teenagers in Japan and interview them and just say, are you really is your life really as tweaked and weird as it's depicted in anime? And I know they're just going to roll their eyes and go, we don't know where that comes from. Bunch of dirty old men sitting in a basement.
Those are our grandparents. We have nothing to do with that.
Battle Girl High School. Well, it wasn't like my high school wasn't like this. So anyway, this is the usual kind of kids saving the world thing. Alien invaders are attacking the Earth, and gotta have all these cute little girls who know how to fight and wield some power. They're the ones that have to take it all on. There's a magic tree that gives them these magical powers, and it's all very nonsensical, but it's fun in a weird kind of tweaked way. A little bit slightly more down to earth is Long Riders, and there's an exclamation point at the end of that. Long Riders, 12 episodes on 2 discs, and this is all about cycling culture, bicycling culture in Japan. And we've had them where they do water polo and volleyball, and there's all kinds of weird sports oriented school things in anime. And this is another one of them. Girl with a folding bicycle and a bunch of friends who all love cycling, and it becomes basically just another one of those Japanese anime shows with cycling as the obsession as opposed to saving the Earth from aliens. But it is what it is. What I find interesting, too, is, the Tour de France ended not too long ago, right after the World Cup, and I'm a soccer lunatic, and my wife is a cycling lunatic, and so we went from watching World Cup at 4 a.m. to my wife watching me waking up and the TV's on and she's cheering on the tour at 7 a.m. So
some guy, not a French guy, who won that?
It was the Welshman this year.
The
Welshman, who's the teammate of Chris Froome, who's won like 3 of the last 4 or whatever. Chris Froome, who's English.
Yeah.
So is his Welsh teammate that won the whole thing, which was kind of interesting and neat, and cheered him on, and it was all good.
Unexpected, it seemed.
It was very unexpected. Yeah. It's fascinating until Bradley Wiggins won the Tour, who was then teammates with Chris Froome. No one from the United Kingdom had ever won the Tour. I mean, it was, they were just weren't British cyclists. They were all Belgian, French, and
Yeah,
Luxembourg,
Italians,
and Italians, and Spanish. As they were all the places where you have the Pyrenees and the Alps. That's
those mountain climbers.
Those mountain climbers. That's what it was. And it's become much more internationalized. But what's interesting is some of the best cyclists, and there's even some Colombians now, because there's some cycling culture in South America, and there's some Colombians who are getting into the.
What's funny, of course, is that for many, many, many years, we know a bunch of Americans.
Yeah.
And it has the tour recovered.
Kind of. There was a Chris Froome controversy this year. Why are we talking about cycling?
I have no idea. How did they slip off into that? You're right.
The anime thing got us off on it. No, it kind of. I'll just detour on this because Chris Froome had a. They tried to ban him from the tour this year because what he was trying for was to do sort of the Grand Tour victory, like to win the Giro d'Italia and to win the Vuelta and then to win the Tour de France. He wanted to do the whole kind of like the Grand Slam,
Slam of tennis, yeah,
and which is almost impossible to do. It requires more physical stamina than anybody could possibly muster in a single year. But he came close, and but he had a weird test. Which was not for a banned substance, but it was a substance that he had a little bit too much of a high concentration of, and they're always neurotic about that because it might be masking something. And so they exercised a weird part of their charter that said we can ban somebody even if they didn't fail a drug test if we feel that they might reflect negatively and damage the image of the tour, then we're going to keep them out. Like if let's say you punched your wife or something, well then they'll say we're going to kick you out because it's bad for the tour's image.
Which they're very sensitive about, given that big.
Very. And they exercised that clause, and he's like, the hell you will, and he sued and took him to court, and I guess they were disallowed from exercising that part of their charter in that way. So French courts are a weird place. I have a little bit of familiarity with it, from when I lived there. People who had to do like two people who couldn't, like a guy who could not marry his girlfriend, or his kids from his first marriage would have a claim on his second wife's property. I was like, how the hell does that work? And he tried to explain. I was like,
that's got to go back to some Louis the 14th type. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's some Napoleonic era edict or something that nobody's bothered to. Anyway, whatever. So, all right, let's blow through the rest of these Funimations. Assassination Classroom, the movie, 365 days time. Look, Assassination Classroom is one of the weirdest things to ever show up on anime. This does not resolve it in any way. It's still weird. It's kind of funny. The idea of this bizarre alien as a school teacher, and it's just it's really, really off the wall. Teaching kids to kill, it's just very strange. There's no conceivable way to make it make sense. You just have to watch it, and if you're a fan, you're going to laugh yourself delirious. If you're not, you watch it and you just think whoever did this is deranged and sick in the head. A Centaur's Life, the complete series. This is all of these, by the way, all of these from Funimation are DVD and Blu-ray combo sets. Sometimes they'll only do DVD, sometimes they'll only do Blu-ray. All of these today are combos, and they're actually all really pretty good, give or take weird stuff like Assassination Classroom. A Centaur's Life, the complete series. This is another high school thing, except this time it's a centaur in high school. Who thinks up this stuff? Seriously, and then, okay, whatever. Adorable centaur in high school. I don't know what else to tell you. If that sounds fun, you're gonna knock yourself out. Alice and Zoroku, the complete series. This is give it time. This will kind of work on you. This is really well written, but it's kind of slow in the going, and it's worth kind of investing some time in. Some of these things I will sit and I'll just sort of blow through the episodes just to sort of get the feel of it, realizing I'm never going to make sense of it. This is really interesting. This is very sweet, very serious. It's fully dramatic. There's no weird mystery stuff, no weird comedy stuff going on, no science fiction, none of that. This is, there's a genre aspect to it in the sense that there's a little girl who has kind of the power to make her imagination come to life. But really, it's ultimately about her relationship with this older man. And it reminds me a lot of that Takeshi Kitano film with the little kid.
Yeah.
Kiku Kokoriku I know
what you're talking.
But it has that kind of feel with a slight supernatural tinge to it. But that's not what it's really about. It's about that relationship. It's a beautiful relationship. Tenchi Muyo, the complete series. This is part of the Tenchi universe. And, this goes really kind of off the rails. There's like sorcery and magic, and the universe is completely disintegrating. And, the kids in the student council have to save the universe. I don't know. Something like that.
Kajuro.
Yeah. You know which one.
Kajuro, something like that. It gets stuck in my head.
Same here. All right, and then here's a couple of the monster ones that I actually thought were kind of cool. Monster Hunter Stories Right On, Season 1, Part 3. The Monster Hunter stuff I don't really particularly like. There's no way to put together the story here. I don't remember what Season 1, Part 1 and 2 were all about. It's just gone right out of my head.
Yeah.
I kind of sort of remembered a little bit, jumped through a lot of this. But the animation's fun, and I know it has some following. Puzzle and Dragon X Part 3, similar thing. A lot of really cool animation. The whole idea of the dragon world. If you're kind of into, this is sort of like How to Train Your Dragon on acid. That's what it is. That's really what it is. It's exactly what it is. It's just if you ever saw like How to Train Your Dragon and you thought this needs to be a lot more psychedelic and make less sense and have cooler animation, that's what Puzzle and Dragon is. Puzzle and Dragon X Part 3. And then we've got Saiyuki Reload Blast. This is a really kind of a curious fantasy horror thing. I'm gonna probably have to take a look at it again because I want to like it more than I did. It's fighting demons and all that kind of stuff again, but it's got a really really a great tinge to its artwork, and I was probably watching the artwork more than listening to it. So for now, I'm going to say Saiyuki Reload Blast. I can't really tell you what it's about, but it looks awful. It looks awesome.
Awesome.
Shouldn't say not awful. Awesome. And then two more here. Nanbaka Part 1. So this is a little. What was the prison show with Ernie Hudson on HBO? What was
Oz.
it? Oz. Thank you.
Lock him down.
Okay. So this is like a really insane Japanese animated version of Oz. It takes place in a prison called Nanba, and in a way, I almost say this is like a weird animated version of Orange is the New Black. Maybe that's a better analogy.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that might be anyway. It takes place in a prison, and it's a little bit sadistic, and it's sometimes funny, and it's kind of crazy. So Nanbaka Part 1. And then lastly is a live-action movie, I Am a Hero, which is also based on a manga, a horror manga. And I kind of feel like I'm torn as to whether this is, I'm not familiar with any animated version of this. I'm torn as to whether or not this would have been better in animation or in live action. It's interesting. I think maybe they're just a tiny bit too slavishly faithful to the manga in doing it as live action, but still some interesting stuff in it until it gets into cannibalism and the zombie viruses, and then it gets a little bit gross. But that's okay. I Am a Hero live action movie certainly will be of interest to people who are fans of the manga. So, with that, we are done, and shall we dive into some new movies?
New movies, indeed. The Equalizer, I think, the Equalizer 2 is still doing pretty well in box office right now.
I did not see it. Did you see it?
Yeah, I did, actually. It's very good.
Yeah?
Solid. Funny, I liked it better than this, The Equalizer, 2014, Denzel Washington, Antoine Fuqua.
Now in 4K.
Yeah, in 4K. And this is nice. All kinds of great stuff on here, but 5 never-before-seen deleted scenes, which were actually pretty neat. Interesting to me, though, I liked the new movie better than this movie. Of course, The Equalizer is from the 1980s, early 80s series, Edward Woodward, and all that guy. And they just went a different way with this, and it really, it just didn't seem to have anything other than the guy's name, McCall, It didn't seem to have anything whatsoever. Edward wore that suit with the tie, and he had the young guy who did all the actual hard work, and he just sort of stood around being very British. He's like, and Denzel is like this bald guy in like his outfit. I'm like, that's not the, but whatever.
Well, Denzel plays it more like Man on Fire.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's what it is.
Exactly.
And which is what I think they want to do. They didn't do a sequel to Man on Fire for rights reasons. If you remember, Man on Fire was done previously with Scott Glenn.
Right.
Which was not so good, and then they did it with Denzel, directed by Tony Scott.
Tony Scott,
who at the time decided, I'm going to see if I can make a whole movie around Denzel and not have a single continuous cut in the whole movie.
Yeah,
which he did. That movie is cut like somebody just lost their mind.
He Tony Scott the hell out of it.
He just
like he did The Last Action Hero.
Yeah.
Remember that one?
Yeah,
he did the same thing back then. Yeah,
and he anyway, it's all chopped to ribbons, but it's great. And I think with this, what they said was, why don't we take the Edward Woodward TV show and then take Denzel from Man on Fire and just do a cool mashup, and I think we'll have something. Drop Man on Fire Denzel into the premise of the Equalizer.
Of the Equalizer thing,
and it worked.
And this one, the Russian mob was the girl. He has to help her, that kind of thing. So it's fine. It's sharp. Not the television show in any way, shape. Oddly, the new one, very much in line with the television show.
Oh, that's interesting.
I'm like, why didn't they do that? Anyway, whatever. It's fine. 4K, Ultra HD, Blu-ray, digital, all kinds of stuff on this. Denzel and Antoine, they're getting to be like Ford and Wayne.
Yeah,
man, they got the Magnificent Seven, they got the Equalizers, 2 Equalizers, they got Training Day, they got
Yeah. Well, it's when a director finds a suitable alter ego, as, say, Scorsese did with De Niro for many years, too. And certainly Ford did with Wayne. Yeah, when you find an acceptable alter ego and you develop a shorthand, then there's sort of no reason to. I mean, you want to keep going back because you start to see every movie with that actor in it, and you know that you don't need to give them too much direction.
And they move, and they plainly move through the material like butter.
I guarantee you, it's I remember it was I forget who I was interviewing. It was I can't remember, but I was interviewing a director once about working with Depardieu, and Depardieu is one of those actors who you just don't need to give any direction to.
Yeah.
And he said, he'd pull him aside and go, "Why don't we?" And Gerard would just go, I got it. I got it. No, I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. You're like, but I didn't say anything. How do you? And then he'd go and he'd get in front of the camera and action, and he just nails it. Yeah. And you're like, how did he know?
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, Denzel is that kind of guy too. Especially with Antoine. It's just Antoine could just kind of look at him and go, "Could you?" Yes. And there it is.
Yeah. Because look, he's gonna
save you time and money.
He's gonna Denzel it.
Yeah.
The question is, which one? Is this going to be A7 or B3? Right. Pull out the B3, and you're there with it, and you just sort of knock it out. So neat. Breaking In, I really enjoyed this movie. Gabrielle Union, Breaking In, happened to cover this one on the show. Payback as a Mother, which I thought was neat because the film opened on Mother's Day, and the just James McTeague, who's a hand.
Yeah.
James, he's no Antoine, but he's a hand. He gets it done fairly decently. So this isn't brilliant or anything, but that's why it works. Bottom line is, it's very simple.
Yeah.
You got this mom, and these bad guys kidnap her kids.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, you screwed up right there.
Yeah.
You're gonna all die.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happens. You took my kids, and now I got to kill you all.
Liam Neeson turns into a woman.
Thank you.
That's what it is.
Yeah, you shouldn't have done that.
I would love to have been in the room when one of those whichever advertising person it was sat there, and this was a moment, they're just sitting there as they always do, just stroking their beards and their glasses and thinking and tapping their foreheads, and some dude or some girl said, "I got it. Payback is a mother." And the whole room just erupted and went, "Woo! Yeah!"
Because it kind of works.
Yeah.
This has an alternative opening. Which is interesting. Commentary with the director on it and the screenwriter. Anyway, it's a really, really neat thriller in and of itself, and this has some neat stuff on it. So, Breaking In, Gabrielle Union. Did you like Life of the Party? Did you say?
No,
me neither. Look, Miss McCarthy is. I don't know, man. It's just I get it, but I just don't get it. She's funny, but the way her movies work are like this, particularly when she's working with her husband, who plainly loves her very much and will not say no to her.
Yeah.
Melissa. Stop now, Melissa. It won't. You just go back to the script, Melissa.
Yeah.
Because these movies that she makes, they have these moments where she just starts doing that routine, and it's funny, but it has nothing whatsoever to do with the movie. and the movies grind to a halt.
Yeah.
And then eventually she gets back on script and the movie goes on from there.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, that's just starting to bug me. It was true in that spy movie that she did, which, by the way, is not true in the Kate McKinnon Mila Kunis spy movie, which opened this past week. We're talking about. So, like, same thing, right?
Yeah.
So the spy's out of place. Their movie works. Her movie did not.
Yeah.
Why? Because they're actually doing the movie.
Yeah.
They're doing scenes from the movie in which they are funny. She just does her little stand.
Yeah.
Billy Crystal used to do that, so I'm not just beating up on her. He used to do that sometimes too. Anyway, old school. She ends up in college with her daughter and makes friends with all her daughter's friends, and it's a neat premise. A sort of Rodney Dangerfield sort of 80s kind of premise, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just wish that she would make the movie and stop doing jokes. Blu-ray, DVD, digital, lots and lots of stuff. A few things on here to check out. Deleted scenes in the gag reel and whatnot. Okay.
You know, somewhere there's somebody that I would like to hit over the head with a baseball bat. And that person is the person that said, you know what would be a great movie to remake? Overboard. What were you thinking? You, that person, whoever you are.
Kurt Russell, Goldie Hawn, of course, about middle 80s.
Yeah,
the original movie.
But here's what happens in the mid 80s. Somebody's written a script for Overboard. It's a spec script or something that's floating around, and somebody reads it, and then they look over next to them, and they see a picture of Kurt and Goldie on the National Enquirer, the Stars, or the People, or something, and they think, we can get Kurt and Goldie to be in this together.
Yeah.
Instant marketing thing, right?
Yes.
Because everybody's paying attention. They're the hot Hollywood couple. They're the thing.
And they had a run there where they did 3 or 4 of them. And they did Bird on a Wire, and they had a run.
Yeah, there were a few of them. Bird on a Wire was Mel, but
that was Mel.
That was
right.
Mel.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
but I know what you mean. They're like a couple others. Anyway, so what person right now says, let's remake a movie that nobody remembers, and let's replace the couple that was in it at the time, that
who
had
were huge movie stars that everybody knew,
huge stars. Let's replace Goldie with Anna Faris, who's not as popular as Goldie, but who's Goldie-like.
Yeah, but
she's like today's Goldie.
She's a television actress.
She's a television actress, which means nothing. And let Kurt Russell, we can replace his star power with Eugenio Derbez.
And God bless Eugenio, and he's very funny, and I like him. He's a Mexican actor, very famous Mexican movie star. But
nobody knows who he is.
Nobody north of Galveston has any idea who the hell he is, and that's all there is to it.
Anyway,
So anyway, that's just no good.
We've talked about this more than it deserves. The Blu-ray DVD combo set also comes with digital copy, which is still technically ultraviolet over at Lionsgate. But what's interesting to me, if I may point this out, is that they're not calling it ultraviolet anymore on this. It says, includes digital copy, code may not be valid after 2020. Now, I find that to be interesting because this would normally have called it ultraviolet, which technically still exists, but I know everybody's in talks to join Movies Anywhere, and once Lionsgate and HBO and I think it's Paramount who's still holding out, once they're all on board, sky's the limit for that format. You Were Never Really Here has been getting a lot of attention too. This won Best Actor and Best Screenplay at Cannes. Joaquin Phoenix. This was one of those Sundance movies that actually had a little bit of traction beyond it. Financed by Amazon Studios, and I'm a big fan of Lynn Ramsey. I think she's an enormously talented writer-director, but I also think that she's got a weird little sadism streak that may be a little bit too excessive. I'm not sure if that's because she's doing what Catherine Bigelow did early in her career, which is say, I'm
gonna make boy movies better than boys.
Exactly. I'm gonna go more sadistic, more grueling, more brutal. I'm gonna show you that I can outdo the boys.
Kathleen, she was Near Dark, right?
Yeah.
Which is a great movie.
And Mimi Leader was kind of pigeonholed doing that for a minute too.
Yeah, Peacemaker with Clooney when she came off of ER.
Exactly.
And I don't blame her.
I don't either.
That's what you guys want. I'll act like the boys. I'll do it like the boys.
Everybody loves this movie. I don't love it. I think it's very good, but I do think it pushes it a little too hard. It's a little too brutal for me. Maybe that's because I'm a parent now. I don't know. But anyway, it's based on a book, Jonathan Ames. It's basically Taxi Driver. Joaquin Phoenix, has PTSD, and it's like the Equalizer, except not with Denzel, with a crazy bearded Joaquin instead of Denzel. That's what it is. But anyway, he's looking for missing girls. That's what he does. He tracks down missing girls, and things eventually, because of his PTSD, go completely off the rails. Blu-ray and digital copy combo set. And once again, this is from Lionsgate, and it says digital copy. It does not say ultraviolet. That's a crucial thing. I want everybody to pay attention to that, because when we were on the eve of Movies Anywhere happening, all the companies that were eventually going to become part of Movies Anywhere, that were part of Ultraviolet, they stopped using the Ultraviolet logo on the packaging. They were in negotiations. They were going to go Movies Anywhere, and then Movies Anywhere was announced, and it was like all these studios and that Warner Brothers and whoever, now they're going to be part of Movies Anywhere. So I'm going to try to read between the lines and say that the reason that they're not using the Ultraviolet logo is because Ultraviolet for Lionsgate is about to cease to be a thing. So that's my prediction.
And they're just getting out ahead of it.
Yeah.
Tully. This was an interesting little movie that had a little bit of heat there for a moment. Charlize Theron, Jason Reitman directing a Diablo Cody script, Mackenzie Davis, Ron Livingston. So this seemed like right there in the pocket with Juno and some of the other Reitman sort of films. Up in the air. Charlize put on a whole lot of weight to play this film, to play this role as this mother. Whose brother, played by Mark Duplass, hires her a night nanny, someone to help her, Mackenzie Davis, at night take care of this baby. And she sort of resents this young, beautiful woman and all that she has going for her for a while there. But then they sort of strike up this neat little relationship, and it's sort of neat. Little movie. It's very sweet. I wonder if folks will remember it as we move into the award season. It's a performance that I think is certainly worth thinking about in terms of award season. Charlize was particularly good in the movie. Anyway, here we have the Blu-ray digital. Not a whole lot of bonus features. Just a little bonus feature called The Relationship of Tully. The Relationships of Tully. That's about the only thing that's on here. So, I wish it were a little bit more stacked. I think it was an interesting movie, and I remember listening to Jason Reitman talk about it on NPR back when it came out, and
his career has stalled a little bit, though.
A little bit, yeah.
I think he's Up in the Air was such a big thing, and
with Juno, he was the savant.
That was it, and then Up in the Air kind of delivered even more, and then since then, I think he's been looking for material.
Yeah.
And going back to working with her, and he's trying to find his next gear, and I don't think he's found it yet.
It seems like he doesn't want to go big. I respect that. By now, the third film would have been a bigger movie.
But since he made Up in the Air, things have changed. We're now Netflix and Amazon and a lot of things. I mean, the game has changed, and if he doesn't want to do a TV show, he's going to have to probably go bigger. He's going to have to. He's going to have to swing a bigger bat. On Chesil Beach, with Saoirse Ronan and Billy Howell. It might be Howley, given the way that we pronounce all these names. But anyway, this is based on an Ian McEwan novel. And it is a very sweet film. It'll be interesting to see. I think this will probably be forgotten when award season comes around. But it's very sweet, very well acted, very well put together. Basically, it takes place in 1962, a story of a couple. It's the usual thing. He's kind of a working class kid. She's from the good side of the tracks. And they have a romance, and it is where that romance leads in their lives, and the complications that ensue, and things that are peculiar to the era that make for a very, very interesting and compelling story. It's very nice. It's not brilliant, it's not great, it's not sort of superlative, but it's, for what it is, it's very, very well done.
It's funny though. You look at a movie like that with Saoirse in it, and Lady Bird last year, and a few other these sort of major movies. Saoirse Ronan's in this movie, but it didn't really.
I also, the reason for award season it's going to vanish is that when you do if you're a major actor or an actress and you do two films in the same year and one of them is splashier, even if it may not be better, that's the one that everyone that winds up zeroing in on. And she has Mary Queen of Scots coming out later this year, so that will they're going to position that for Oscars, so that will erase this in everyone's minds. We also have Measure of a Man with Donald Sutherland and Luke Wilson. This is only on DVD, not on Blu-ray. And this is a Lionsgate. There's no digital copy on this, no Ultraviolet by another name or anything of the sort. This is just a straight up nice little kind of generic comedy that would have been something like The Sandlot or something, released in the 1980s. About a 14-year-old kid played by Blake Cooper, having an absolutely horrendous vacation, and everything in his life is going south. And this is about his coming of age experience during that fateful summer. It's kind of a freaks and geeks thing. And Judy Greer is fine, and Donald Sutherland, Luke Wilson, they create this great surrounding supporting cast for Blake Cooper, who rises to the occasion. He's very, very good, very fun to watch. So again, nothing particularly great, but it's perfectly diverting and a decent rental.
Kings was a neat little movie that I just thoroughly enjoyed. Halle Berry, Daniel Craig, right?
Yeah.
This is one that I thought would so it's
right.
set in, first of all,
with those names,
and they're good, and it's a good film, and it's sort of intense. Set in 1992, Rodney King riots are playing out. You and I, of course, were both right here.
I remember talking to you and everybody. Well, I was in France,
mm-hmm.
and the first thing was I called my mother and I said, "What?" Well, I had come back from doing something with this in Paris shopping. I don't know what I was doing. I was on my way to the Cannes Film Festival, staying with a friend of ours who lives just outside Paris, and I got back to her place, and she says, "Oh, things are happening chez toi." And I said, "Things are happening? What do you mean things are happening?" She goes, "Oh, it was that thing with the policeman and the young black guy." And I was like, and then I put it together, right, the way it's, and I turned the TV on, and it's smoke. I called my mother. I was like, "What's going on?" She says, "Oh, we're okay." And then I talked to you at some point. And you said you were like, "Oh, I love a good riot." You ran down.
Oh, I jumped in the Jeep and drove right with my camera and shot that riot. I was on Vincent Schiavelli's roof. The actor Vincent Schiavelli.
Yeah.
If you look him up, you've seen the actor. Yeah. And I happened to be interviewing for Entertainment Today, the paper that we were writing for at the time. Yeah. And Vincent and I were sitting on his roof, and he said to me, "What's that?" Because you're there, and I pointed out there's like a fire. I'm like, it looks like a building's on fire there. And then he looked over my other shoulder. Well, then what's that? And I'm like, oh, that's a much bigger fire. And we went in and started watching television. And I'm like, I think the interview is over, Vincent. And he's like, I don't blame you. And boy, Bridget was mad. Yeah. Oh, when I drove south instead of west, we were living in Westwood. Yeah. Oh, she was really, that's my wife. She was really mad that I went to the riots. But you know what? Got great pictures of that riot, baby. Great pictures. So anyway, Kings. This movie, and it's very, very good. It's a very good movie. Well done. Daniel Craig plays his next door neighbor to Halle Berry and her several sort of adopted or foster children. As the riots sort of go on, she leans on him for help. Now, he's a white dude in the hood with this black lady and her several children, and he is there protecting her from the black community around her. It's a really sort of daring and intense sort of story. I liked it quite a lot. So Kings, check it out if you get a chance. That one shouldn't have been missed.
A movie that should have been on Blu-ray and should have done better is Stanley Tucci's Final Portrait.
Yeah.
I love Stanley Tucci, and he wrote and directed this, and it did not get the kind of backing that it should have. I'm thinking maybe award season this gets another bite at the apple. I am hoping.
Jeffrey Rush, Tony Shalhoub.
I mean, yeah, it's got some great interviews on here and some featurette stuff. This is all about an event that took place in 1964 when sculptor Alberto Giacometti, who is extraordinary, if you've ever seen his stuff in museums, just go online, Alberto Giacometti, 2 T's, when he was supposed to do a portrait for the American kind of social figure. He was a writer and a big philanthropist and all that. James Lord.
Yeah.
And James Lord is played here by Armie Hammer. Jeffrey Rush plays Giacometti. And it was supposed to be just a commission, right? Sit down, that portrait, clay, bronze, boom, bomb, there you go. I'm done. Thing. And instead it dovetailed into something very different. The relationship became something very different. And it's really interesting and it's fascinating. And the Parisian backdrops here are just absolutely gorgeous. And it's amazing to me that this did not become a movie sooner. And full disclosure, one of the the company that made this was partly financed by an Indian company. One of the executive producers, Deepak Nair, who my wife worked for and I know very, very well. So I'm raving about a movie produced by somebody that I know. If that's a conflict of interest, that's a problem. Well, welcome to Hollywood.
Well, yeah, but it's a good movie, and it's really strange how again Stanley Tucci, Tony Shalhoub. I mean, come on, man. I don't quite get how that doesn't.
I don't know. This movie should have gotten a better bite at the apple
because it is again a very good movie.
Yep.
Dark Crimes, Jim Carrey film. Very specifically, they mentioned that this is from the producers of The Revenant and Black Mass.
Yeah.
It's a dark Jim Carrey film. Jim Carrey's been on his little dark, I don't make comedies anymore, bent for a while now. And that's where we are here. This is Charlotte Gainsborough, Martin Sakis. Very, very intense film. It's a murder mystery. What we have here is a cop who's investigating a murder. He finds that the murder matches the narrative in a novel. What happens in these murders are what happens in this novel. He goes looking for the writer of the novel, finds him, finds his girlfriend. They're involved in this whole sort of underworld, underground sex cult sort of thing that they're doing. Jim Carrey, playing this sort of dark character, slips into that and finds that he has some kinks of his own that he needs to work out. And then, we work our way through the story. Nothing that hasn't been seen before or captured on film before, nothing particularly intriguing. It's just Jim Carrey doing his serious actor thing. And I don't know. I hate to be one of those guys that says, "Man, I wish he'd go back to doing comedy." You hate that.
Yeah.
No, do your thing, Jim.
No, he's got to do his thing.
Yeah.
I mean, look, Jerry Lewis did The King of Comedy, and that is a scary, serious role.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. We got a quartet of films here from Shout Factory, and some of them are in league with IFC, and it's all really interesting stuff. So. Here's the rundown. A couple of them are horror films. Wildling probably should have been more of a thing theatrically, but was not. In any case, this movie in the 80s or 90s, and especially in the 90s, this would have been a straight up cool theatrical release.
Yeah,
wouldn't have been an IFC midnight release. Wouldn't have been part of Scream Factory. But it is so good on them for doing it. Basically, Belle Powley plays a girl who. Look, she's a werewolf. I don't know. I'm not gonna, it's not a surprise. You're gonna know that going in. But the thing is, she doesn't know it, and Brad Dourif is this creepy, weird guy who raised her, doesn't really know their relationship, and it's all about how she discovers her origins and who he is and who she is and all that stuff. It's coming of age of a werewolf girl. What do you want?
A little Liv Tyler, James LaGrosse. Neat
it's a neat little movie, directed by Fritz Bohm, who I'm going to assume is some kind of a German guy, because he wrote the screenplay with Florian Eder, and those are totally German names. Yeah. So good on them. Come on, let's get this career going, because you definitely got talent. Pie Wacket from the producers of The Witch. This touts itself with a little sticker on it that says, "See the film that was banned in 2 countries." I'd like to know what those countries were, because if those countries were, Yemen and Oman, that doesn't really mean anything to me. They ban everything. So the film that was banned in if it was a film that was banned in 37 countries,
then it was
okay. Now I'm impressed. Yeah. Anyway, Pie Wacket, Pyewacket, is pretty creepy. I got to be honest. It really is. This is one of those occultish horror films that always creep me out. Like, monsters don't do a whole lot for me. Gore doesn't do a whole lot for me, slasher films. But whenever you get ghost movies and the occult and
the others, that kind of thing,
demons and wizarding and all that kind of stuff, then I freak out. Anyway, so this definitely, and plus it's it's a teenage girl, which makes it even more terrifying to me, because I'm a teenage girl when it comes to horror films.
Me too.
So and the name Pie Wacket is a spirit, an evil spirit. So you can fill in all the blanks. It's done very, very creepy. It's quite good. Lowlife is also an IFC and an IFC Midnight Scream Factory thing that deals with Mexican wrestling, and
I saw that one for the show.
Yeah, this is kind of
highly exploitive.
It really it's total grindhouse, isn't it? It's really modern, straight up grindhouse. But yeah, it's it's this guy he's a wrestler and he's got a face tattoo and it deals with the I mean, it's all about low life people. It's nasty, and it takes place in Los Angeles, and it's really gritty.
There's sex trafficking and human trafficking.
It's horrible,
and they're in human parts trafficking. It's just so horribly uncomfortable. I didn't like it at all.
But it's got some style.
Yeah.
And then the last one is a little, this is from Shout Kids. It's called The Boxcar Children, Surprise Island. This is a lot more pleasant than the last three. This is actually really kind of a sweet animated film with some really, really good voice work, some surprisingly great voice work. J.K. Simmons and Martin Sheen in particular, who do a really, really, really good job. And Dane DeHaan, who I had forgotten was even there. He was like a thing for a minute and then went away. Anyway, this is a bunch of kids who are staying with their grandfather for reasons we will explain later. Having a cool little island summer, and it does things that a lot of animated films don't do, and it goes a little deeper, and the voice casting is really good, and I thought it was really charming and sweet. So, and really interesting animation too, very, very interesting animation. The Boxcar Children, Surprise Island.
Interesting. So I have a movie here that a lot of people, Andrew DeVos and Karen Warren, but with Rutger Hauer, right? Now, this movie is called Blast. Here's the storyline. These people take over this. They take over the swim facility for the United States Olympics, and they kidnap the women's swim team, right? And it's inside this big building. Now you're going to look at this. You're going to look at this box, and you're going to say to yourself, "My goodness, that looks like the box for Die Hard, 1984." Because I swear to you, this movie is exactly that movie from beginning to end.
Oh my gosh!
Despite the fact that they sort of frame it in this particular, you have these guys. They take over this thing, and
straight up steals the marketing of Die Hard. Everything,
just all the way down. Yeah, you look. Rutger Hauer is in it, and that's always going to be good. But no, this is Die Hard, and why watch this if you can just watch Die Hard? Terror has no limits. Blast. Neither does this DVD. There's literally nothing on it but the movie, and you've seen this movie already.
Got a couple of 4Ks here. Don't really understand why Marrowbone was given the 4K go-ahead. This was released originally by Magnet, which is the genre wing of Magnolia. It's out on 4K from Universal, who handles all the Magnolia stuff. And it's a ghost movie. It's very, very creepy. It's got some great audio, which certainly benefits from the lossless audio. And 4K has the best audio there is. Written and directed by Sergio Sanchez, who's a very, very good, talented director. But it didn't get a lot of traction in theaters, and it's a little curious that they would really throw it out there with 4K and think that would get it some traction. Anyway, it's it's 4 kids from another country who have a ghostly experience once they come to America, because, as we all know, all ghosts live in America. Yeah. There are no ghosts in other countries. They're all here. There are no ghost stories that take place overseas. They're all Japan. Yeah. I take it back.
Yes,
all ghosts in the world are in Japan and America, except for the ones that are in Korea. So let me rewrite this. All ghosts in the world are in Japan, South Korea, and America. All of them. That's where they are. They just want to be in those 3 places. The other 4K is Transporter 3 with Jason Statham. I got to tell you, Transporter 1 and 2 I thought were just horrible. But when I saw Transporter 3, that subplot where he goes and he gets a job working in a retirement home in Miami and decides to when he's fetching porridge for that sweet old lady, it's the best. It's so heartwarming and touching. I couldn't believe it. Not a car anywhere in this movie. Not a car, no crime. It's just all human interest and heartwarming working with old people.
That's so funny.
Actually, I take it all back. It's more of the same.
It's more of the same. Luke kicked those off. Bisson, he kicked those off, right?
It's his company.
That's his company.
It's his company.
And basically, that's one of those movies. Anybody, look, if you hang around with him long enough doing anything, Luke will eventually give you a movie to direct.
Look, I really like Jason Statham. I like him a lot. I especially like him in the Stallone things.
Oh, the Expendables.
Yeah, Expendables movies. He is just completely going through the motions here. This is a paycheck.
Yeah.
He walks onto the set. I don't even know if he's read the script. I'm sure they do it with cue cards at this point. And these movies have become so formulaic and so predictable and so tedious that they're boring now.
Yeah.
It's just cars and explosions and guns and transporting and gear shifting and you fall
him
asleep.
with the gun and the girl and the thing, and it's just no more of that, man.
Yeah.
Flora, interesting. 1929, right?
Yep.
Which is sort of the end of the great period of exploration of the actual planet that we live on. You know, Shackelford going here and Perry going there, and people going down to the Amazon, all that kind of stuff. So this film is set during that period. A group of young botanists go out into the world, and particularly into the sort of North American forest, the frontier at the time, to study the native flora.
Yep.
And what they uncover is a deadly organism. And now what's interesting about that is that it's 1929.
Yeah.
And they have to figure out a way to survive this organism coming into contact with it and not to bring it back to the world. It's actually quite, with 1929 technology, it's actually quite fascinating and a lot of fun. Anyway, some special features on this Blu-ray DVD, Blu-ray digital here, which includes a behind-the-scenes featurette and some deleted scenes and a commentary with Sasha Luich of Vukakic. I can't even pronounce her name, whatever it is. And a few others. So, I don't know. It's sort of a neat movie. It's just one of those movies that if you get a chance, you should check it out. It's more fun than you might think.
And we'll do some television and then see if we have any time left to maybe pile through a couple of docs. 6, Season 2, which is all about the SEAL Team 6. It's a dramatized, sort of glamorized version of SEAL Team 6. Really interesting show, incredibly authoritative, and I find they're putting a little bit more money into it. I really enjoy this show. This show is created by and is produced by William Broyles and David Broyles, his son. Now, William Broyles, of course, is the Vietnam vet who became a bit of a big deal as a writer and then went on to co-create China Beach. He was an advisor on a lot of films. Wrote Castaway with Tom Hanks. He's an Oscar-nominated screenwriter and a really, really talented writer. And David Broyles, his son, is a Gulf War vet. So David is also a Marine, and they bring a lot of authenticity. It really is. The language, the dialogue, it's just really, really a sharp show. I wish it was on Blu-ray. If you haven't seen it, 6 is a great show on History Channel. This is season 2, really, really terrific. Better in the second season than it was in the first. And then from Acorn TV is No Offence, Series 1. Oh, that's right. It's British because, you see, offense is spelled with a C, not an S. That's how you know you're really, really in for it here. Anyway, this is just a great crime show, great British crime show. Really, really good acting, really good writing, and it's like most of them. It's just it's like the Law and Order of the UK. They got a great team of cops, and they're tough, and they deal with everybody. All the nasty people that are the people from Lowlife, basically, except they're in the UK. It's all those same kind of people, the nastiest lowlifes that you can find anywhere in England. And boy, there's some really, really good writing here. Really terrific cast. Alexandra Roach, who you may remember from The Iron Lady, is sensational in this. She deserves to be a huge star and to get some movies. Really, really like her. And also Colin Salmon from Arrow, who's a really, really good actor. He's in this. I don't know how he does this and Arrow, but good on him. Work both sides of the Atlantic for sure, man.
Counterpart. This J.K. Simmons series. I really, really love this series. First season of Counterpart. This is what so you got this guy, sort of like a low-level sort of government worker. He's doing anything. He discovers that there is another dimension.
Ooh.
And that this other dimension has an equivalent of him in it, but that guy is a badass secret agent guy. And there's basically this sort of Cold War thing going on between these two dimensions.
Yeah.
And he decides that he needs to bring his game up to his doppelganger's game in terms of the Cold War thing. It's really, really good. J.K. Simmons can really just do no wrong so far as I'm concerned. But it's neat. It's a really neat series. I think the series returns in 2019. It's on Stars. Counterpart, the complete season 1. Check it out.
And then
Here and Now.
Here and Now, Alan Ball continues to do really, really good work. Here and Now, was an original HBO show. Doesn't really. This is still Ultraviolet, I should point out. They are HBO is not in negotiation like I think Lionsgate is.
They're on the back.
Which is weird because they're part of Time Warner. And Warner Brothers is on board with Movies Anywhere. HBO, such bizarre autonomy. I don't really understand it. Anyway, this is DVD and Ultraviolet. Here and Now, the terrific new series from Alan Ball, who just continues to do really, really good work. Coming on the heels of 6 Feet Under and True Blood. And it's a great cast. It's great writing. It's probably more true to him. He's not trying to be quite so shocking now as he was with True Blood. Was a little bit like a poking the finger at people. But it's a really good show. Tim Robbins finally shows up again. He's been gone for years.
For a while,
Should be directing movies,
Oh, Bob Roberts is just so,
Anyway, and Holly Hunter. It's really, really good. And the ideas here, they're this couple who have these adopted children from all different parts of the world, and then they have one child who's actually theirs, and it's fill in the blanks. That's a scenario for really, really interesting family drama.
Yeah.
So Here and Now, really good, really well written. We got 4 PBS docs here, and then we'll call it quits after that. One of them on Blu-ray is just gorgeous. Whenever PBS comes out with a Blu-ray, you know that it's going to be gorgeous. Yeah. This is from the BBC Earth line, which most of their Blu-rays often are, and it's called Kingdoms of the Sky: Himalaya, Rockies, Andes. Tells you everything you need to know. They went and they took some amazing cinematographers and some great camera crews to these 3 remarkable mountain ranges, all very, very different, and they just shot the daylights out of them and the people that live there and juxtaposed it. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely fantastic. It's wonderful and insightful. And again, it's like the mountains are somehow not just a backdrop, but they're also a metaphor for the lives of the people that live there in a beautiful and kind of poetic way. From Nature, we have Shark Mountain, as long as we're on the subject of mountains. And it's not really about a mountain. It's a good title. It's not Shark Week. It's a little bit more adult than that, but beautifully shot. They probably should have done this on a Blu-ray. They didn't, but it's still really, really well shot anyway. And a lot of wonderful underwater photography of all these different kinds of sharks that kind of live around the volcanic reefs of Cocos, and it's lovely. I mean, not much else you can really say about it. Also from Nature is The World's Most Wanted Animal. Do you know what the world's most wanted animal is?
I'm going to say a puppy, but probably
not really. Not really. It's a pangolin.
Okay, don't know what that is.
The pangolin.
Pangolin.
A pangolin is the most trafficked animal in the world. It's that thing, that scaly.
Yeah.
See, it's like an armadillo.
Yeah.
Right, and it's like an anteater. It's partly an anteater, partly armadillo. It's kind of it's in that vein, but
where
it has,
on the planet is that thing?
Well, it's scaly, right? It has like a scaly armor on it, and it's rare. It's extremely rare. And it is, as is always, in parts of Asia, people think this thing has medicinal value.
Okay.
Right? It's that ancient, get me a pangolin and I'll bleed it and mix it with, ginseng root or something and it'll cure gout. It's all that superstition that you get in those really rural parts of Asia where they just need rare animals. And anyway, this is all about how they're trying to conserve it and how difficult it is to conserve it. And a lot of this depends on like celebrities, particularly in China, helping get the word out and say stop killing endangered species.
Yeah.
For medical cures that don't exist, that aren't real.
Yeah.
Because eventually you
won't have any. Or your sex drive.
Yeah. Eventually you'll find out that you didn't need it, and by then there aren't any left.
Yeah.
And then lastly, Nova Wonders, which is a new series. It's not Nova. It's a new series associated with Nova that takes a look at the scientific process in general. And this has 2 discs and 6 episodes on it. What are animals saying? What's living in you? Are we alone? Can we build a brain? Can we make life? What's the universe made of? So this is kind of it's Nova associated, but it's interesting. It's like it's part of the Nova cinematic universe, and next we'll have superheroes.
Outstanding.
That's what I think. So anyway, a lot of interesting stuff about just how things work, how the universe works. It's like Nova for I don't know. It's like what was the In the News? Remember In the News?
Oh yeah.
Grown ups. That was on TV on Saturday mornings. Back when Saturday morning cartoons were educational. Like this is to Nova what In the News was to the CBS Cronkite news.
I'll get it. Yeah.
I guess that's what best way to put it. All right.
I'm looking at a pangolin here. I couldn't help myself.
They're wild, right?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Never heard of it, but it's the most trafficked. Wow.
Yeah.
Everybody look that up.
Now look, pangolin. Pangolin. Next thing you know, it'll be a great first name, and people will be naming their kids Pangolin Johnson. Well, aren't you a cute little girl? Anyway, all right. With that, we are done. We will see you guys next week.
Mm-hmm.
So just go ahead and send us an email to gods@digigods.com or gods@cinegods.com with your name and address in the body of the email, and put red in the subject line, just RED, red, and it'll get to us, and we'll pick 4 winners as long as you get it to us by Monday, August 6th. Monday, August 6th. We're going to give it 2 weeks because we don't have a show this next week. So Monday, August 6th. We'll give it 2 weeks, and we will see you then.